be a great live is for, there you go. You're good now. You're live, baby.
All right. Well, waiting for some technology issues here, but Dr. JC Doornick saved the day. Thank you, JC. I appreciate that. As somebody who spends a lot of time on social media, you are great. We had to do a little clear the cache, they call it, right?
That's it. That's the number one way to, you know what, there's probably a whole discussion on that right there. Just the whole concept of rebooting.
Right. Well, JC, I have to tell you, I put on this shirt in honor of you. I just got off a Peloton ride. Thank you. What a great thing to add.
I just realized I've already screwed up because I should be wearing my HowieDoinIt hat.
So yeah, I don't know what you dressed for there. I'll get to that in a minute. But seriously, like what's amazing is behind this door right here now is a Peloton. I feel like there's 20,000 people in that room that anytime I walk in there with a flick of a screen, yeah. I've now entered into this whole new world of people. It's really amazing. So thanks for that push and getting me to get one. I appreciate it.
Well, I apologize in advance for giving you another addiction now. Because if anybody out there is a Peloton person, they know what I'm talking about. Once you start that process, it's hard to stop it. It's a good addiction though, and you can find me at Dragon's Lair on there. If you want to go heavy one day on the Peloton, you find Dragon's Lair.
Dragon's Lair. Okay, I'll have to mention that. I got HK doing it, so we'll find each other there. So, are we all good with technology? We're live right now on Facebook.
We are. In fact, I just went to your Facebook page and shared it from there because we're gonna get this all over the world.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's go coast to coast, all around the world. Boy, it's been an interesting journey since I met you, and what's hard to believe is that we only met in April. Yeah. We might have met 5 years ago for 15 seconds when Shelly introduced me to you, but really this relationship in April. And I was thinking today as we got ready for this, the world's gone through so much during these last, 7 months. And how are you? How's it going? How's things? And I just enjoy our journey so far. It's been amazing.
Yeah, and you just brought something really interesting up that I will challenge all of your listeners because, and we'll probably get into this, but very, very often we become victims of circumstance in life and think that we have these moments in life where things are happening, and that's a topic right there, happenings. Something's always a reaction and a response to something that's happening. And boy, didn't something happen with the whole pandemic and stuff. But my question to you is how did the pandemic happen for you rather than to you? And you know that we talk about that. Yes. Because I'm sitting here right now and you just reminded me that I met you during the pandemic. And I wonder if not for the pandemic, if this friendship right here and me having something to do at 7 a.m. every single day for the rest of my life, episode 565, wherever we're at with that. But I mean, think about that. That's one of the things that I'm very passionate about and I'm speaking about in my book is, how is it that things are happening for you? Seeing that side of it rather than only seeing the negative side of things. And so for that sake, I mean, please don't get me wrong. I am not a fan of people getting sick and all that stuff. But at the same time, I choose today to see the upside, the bright side of things. So I'm grateful for the coronavirus because I met Howie.
Yeah, and likewise. I listened to our podcast interview, and that was something that you said, like in what we're doing in the world of health coaching, you never know on any given day who you're going to meet. And when we connected, it was during the beginning days of that. And you asked me in the podcast, like, if the pandemic didn't happen, would our roads have collided? And then we talk all the time Is it happening to you or for you? And I think that we both come out of that place. It was happening for us. And a lot of, like you said, nobody's rooting for it. It's really sad today. The headlines are.
Isn't it funny though how you and I have to say that? Isn't it funny how we have to give a disclaimer? Because you and I, as friends, we can talk about anything together. But when we're on the airwaves, we have to give a disclaimer before we just acknowledge that thanks to the coronavirus, you and I met potentially. But we got to say, but please don't get me wrong, right? And the reason why is because everything is based on perception, right? It's a choice to find the upside. It's a choice to decide something's happening for you rather than to you, right? But along with that choice that we have, we've got this gift that is a curse and a gift at the same time that the universe or whoever you refer to has given us, and it's called free will. We can think about whatever the hell we want. We can make a choice today to see the upside or the downside. And I'll tell you something, if I choose to see the downside, don't you tell me to find the upside. You know what I'm saying? So we got to give the disclaimer. So here's my disclaimer to everybody right now. Whatever you hear today between Howie and I is just the opinion of one or two people that are open to recognizing at any phase of this conversation and the rest of our lives that we might be wrong. And that's what I love about life is I just see it like it is at that moment, but I might see it differently even by the end of this conversation. There's my disclaimer.
I love that disclaimer, and it reminds me of Jim Detmer's Above the Line, which is something that now it's so ingrained because being above the line, you're open, you're curious, and you're thirsty for knowledge. And then if you dip below the line where some people hang out all the time, you're closed, you're defensive, and you always got to be right. And that's just no way to live. But we all dip there for a minute, hopefully, and get out of there. But some people choose to swim in that pond all the time. And you can't, here's my disclaimer, you can't lift them out. As much as you want change for them and you want to show them a different way. I've learned a lot in coaching these last few months. This is, you know, don't attach yourself to the results because some people just can't get out of that below the line.
Yeah. Well, I did a talk one time as a result.
You did a talk one time?
I did a talk one time.
The only time.
How funny is that? How funny is that? So there was this time I did a talk.
No way.
Funny thing about that is I was a kid growing up that talked too much. And I'm still that kid, but I've made a career out of it now, which is odd. I was always the one that said, hey, wait your turn. You know, take it down a notch. Hey, shh. Right? And I just was fortunate enough to never listen to that. But this talk that I did one time, which is funny, this relevance of this talk is that I did a talk that was stimulated by a song that I heard on the HowieDoinIt show.
No way.
And it's relevant right now. And it's, I want to bring it up because as you know, this has nothing to do with what we said we were going to talk about. But
what did we say we were going to talk about?
I don't know, something. But this topic actually made it into my book. And I credit you for doing something that made me think about it. And I wrote it. So anyway, I was watching, I don't know, could have been down by the dock of the bay in Del Rey. It could have been an old HowieDoinIt classic, but you played a song as you always do, and you played Dear Mr. Fantasy. And isn't that a great song?
Yeah.
So I just heard that song, and I've learned in my path, in my journey, along my journey, I'm always looking for, not only for the bright side, but I'm always looking for the lesson. I always look for the lesson. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful way to look at life, is to, no matter how bad, look for the lesson. So I heard that, and whenever I hear music, it really stimulates something in my brain and in my heart, and it puts me in the creative process. So I heard Dear Mr. Fantasy, which I think is great. And as you know, the Dragon picked up on guitar during the coronavirus. So I said, I want to play that song, which is not a very hard one to play.
Are you going to play that for us?
Right now, there's a couple of songs that I can play, but then I would have to go set up my gear and everything.
Yeah, we don't have that much
The
time.
next episode, I will play you a tune. But what it made me realize is I started to break down the word fantasy. And here's what's relevant about what you and I were just talking about, is this idea of having a choice. The idea of like speaking to Dear Mr. Fantasy. Mr. Fantasy is just a reference to the opportunity to live in the fantasy that everything is going well and happening for you, right? And there's a lesson, so that's above the line. But then there's the other fantasy that everything is happening to you, right? And you're a victim of it and you start to blame and all that stuff, both above and below. Now you can look at the above the line scenario and say, what a nice way to live. What a nice thing to do, to be open and curious and just say to yourself, I wonder why this is happening and I wonder what I can gain from it. If somebody says something nasty to you, you can also say, hey, I wonder why they're saying that. I wonder if they're having a rough time, versus be a victim. But here's the lesson. Thanks to you, you made me think of this. Both of them are fantasies, and they're fantasies created by the creator, who is the person experiencing the fantasy. Is this a good day or a bad day? Because if you really learn, because you know I practice a lot of different philosophies, one of them is Stoicism.
I had a call today with somebody that wasn't where we were going, 45 minutes on Stoicism. It was unbelievable. Gave me 10 books to read. It was the conversation. It just, because I just finished The Obstacle is the Way.
This is the book that everybody that wants to learn how
Hold it closer. Let everybody see.
It's just, it's
Marcus
the Bible.
Aurelius, who's the godfather.
This is what he wrote. But here's my point. If you really, really do the research, you can't prove to me that you're having a bad day. And you also can't prove to me that you're having a good day, because all you're going to show is that in that moment, that's what you see. That's what you experience, is you're having a good day, things are going well, and there's a lesson. Or you're having a bad day, things are going bad, and this is not a good thing. Both fantasies that exist in duality all the time. So back to what you said, your fantasy is your fantasy, and it's a choice. I just made the decision to choose this fantasy.
And isn't that, it sounds simple and it sounds great, but so many people can't choose the fantasy because it is happening to them and they're stuck living in that place and they can't get to that mindset. So what would you say to those people?
Well, that's because they're living in reaction to the world and they're unaware at the time, because I've spent most of my life on that side. As a matter of fact, I live in a world right now that most people would perceive like I got my act together, right? Hey, this guy's got his shit together. But the truth is that the moment I open my eyes and move from unconscious to conscious every morning, I'm frightened to death and the world is ending. And I see the downside and I have anxiety and all those things because I'm going from unconscious to conscious. While I'm asleep, Howie, I'm not sleeping about cartoon birds flying on my finger and everything's wonderful and Julie Andrews is skipping through the room singing. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like everybody else because I'm a human and I got a wet piece of meat in my skull and that's happening. But what I do, because I made the choice, is that I've devised a system, and I know you have too, of not reacting like I always used to. You see, you can't change the happening. And this is a big part of my system that I go over in my book. Happenings are always going to happen. And you can look at them and say it was a good happening or a bad happening, but forget about that for now. Forget about the fact that you get to choose if it's good or bad. A happening, an event, a thing, a person saying something, a bill, any of that stuff is going to happen, right? You have no control over that, according to Marcus Aurelius, right? You have no control over whether things happen or not. They happen. I wake up in the morning and I'm frightened. But what I do have control over is how I perceive it and how I receive it and then release from it. So I live in structure, just like you, Howie. So, everybody that comes to the Howie Doing It show and listens to you every morning saying, hey, everybody, Grateful Friday and all that stuff. Hey, Whitey's here and all that stuff. They're receiving your information. But what I want to challenge them to do is see that that's a man who's living in structure, and he's using that structure to get his shit together that day so that he puts himself in a different place where he responds to happenings differently. He'll receive great happenings as a blessing, but he'll see the thing that everybody else sees as bad, and he will receive that and perceive it as a lesson and things. So you live in structure, Howie. And what you do is all these other people that show up for the Howie Doing It show, very smart to do. But I don't know if they really understand the value in it, because when I show up, just like we're doing right now by having this conversation, I'm getting my stuff together and seeing a different perspective by listening to you. I'm using you and your show to get to rewire the mainframe and the program that's been programmed by the programmers, your mother, father, teacher, preacher. Oh boy, didn't they screw us up? No, that's the victim status. They loaded all this stuff in our brains and we're supposed to process it and do the best that we can and grow from there. I'll go on forever on that.
Yeah.
What about the jacket?
I was just going to ask you about that. I was going to stick to the word structure a minute, but
Go for it. No,
I'm back here in South Florida, wherever I am. It was 3 months on the road, and I got back here and I forgot. Sunday I went out. I kind of got a late start on my exercise, and I went out for a long walk, hike, run, whatever.
I think we could call it a Howie Doing It walk, because you walk a lot.
Right, 103 degrees. I
Ooh.
forgot how hot it is here. So I'm looking at you in that Nike, and I'm trying to remember what athlete made that jacket famous. And I know it could be an hour story, so just give us the cliff notes.
So first of all, very, very quick story. First of all, so everybody calls me the Dragon. And the reason why they do that is because I said that's my name. I'm the Dragon. That's my personality, and it's through our podcast. My amazing counterpart, Chicken and Dragon. So Chicken and I have a podcast called Rise Up with Chicken and Dragon. So there's my sales pitch. I want to sell you on the thing that we don't make any money from. We have a podcast called Rise Up with Chicken and Dragon. It's about relationships. She's a sex therapist, all that stuff. Really fun stuff. But the jacket. So Dragon loves to wear flashy clothes. I also have yellow socks on as well, right? I like to wear fun clothes because it's just something that I can do to express myself, makes me feel good. So my friends all kind of like make fun of that, and they support it. So I get dragons in the mail, and we get chickens in the mail and all that, but I also get really fun socks and hats and clothing. So this particular jacket was actually a goof. So one of my best friends, who's going to be the best man at our wedding if we ever reschedule it, it's actually—
I do have that on my calendar for December 21 in Cape Town.
We were supposed to get married in Cape Town, South Africa this December, and it didn't happen to us. It's happening for us because it's all worked out beautifully, but we're getting married next year. But anyway, the best man at my wedding, one of the greatest humans in the world, his name's Dr. Tony Doramus. Trust him with my life. He bought this, he's a very wealthy guy, so he buys things, and he sends me this jacket. So to capture it, it was Michael Johnson you're thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
The gold sneakers and stuff.
Right.
So the reason why I wear the jacket is because it's flashy, but also it makes me feel like I'm fast and important. But the funny part about it is he bought it as a goof. He bought it to just make fun of me, and it turned out to be one of my favorite jackets. And I will not show it on the show right now, but I have shorts to match. Shorts.
I like that. I like that. I've seen some of your outfits. They're awesome. You know, JC, a lot of people hear me talk about you all the time. I think it would be nice to just give a quick little background on who you are, where you came from, what you're doing, and talk about the company which you've helped build into just a massive firm. It's a massive firm.
The firm. I love it. I love your I love the way you look at things. It's awesome. Yeah, so my story in a nutshell, and that's part of what makes my book, special is
When will this book come out?
It's the book is pretty much done, but it's not my number one priority right now. My number one priority is my family, and we're building this international business right now, and it's focused on our little girl that we're adopting and stuff. So I always finish the thing that matters most, and right now it's not my book. So I would say probably early 2021. It's finished right now. There's a couple of finishing touches, but what the book goes over is, there's this one chapter called Life is a Line, and it just goes back and it just dissects everything that's happened to me, because when I'm going back, it's going back to a time where I thought everything was happening to me. A lot of misfortune, a lot of challenges and things like that. But long story short, I got myself to a place in May of 2007 when I had one of my first awakenings, where, I was sort of successful. If you met me, I could convince you I was successful. I had a lot of money, but I was trading time for money. And I was a doctor. I was a successful doctor, but at the same time, you would be a little confused that I was a doctor and I was about 85 pounds overweight. So long story short, I was full of shit. I was a bullshit artist. I was scared. I had insecurities, and I was depressed, experienced anxiety and all that, but I just could really, really act the part. So the truth was that I was a hot mess. And as a result of that, I was doing everything wrong. I was mean to people. I was drinking. I was smoking. I was eating too much. I was 85 pounds overweight. So as my mentor, Dr. Anderson would say, it's not your fault. So not that I'm blaming other things, but it makes sense to me why I was that way when I look back, because of all that was happening and my inability to process and respond. So when I started, my awakening came when I recognized what a mess I became. And I recognized that the number one way it was showing up to me that I could do something about was my health. My physical health was just a train wreck. And I didn't know how powerful the physical shift would be. But long story short, the heavens opened up, and it wasn't so much who came into my life and this idea of this company and this program, because that already existed. When I say the heavens opened up, I got out of my way and I said yes to something. That was the big awakening, is I made a decision to say yes to help. Right? Because when you have a big unhealthy ego and you don't like yourself, you protect it by saying no to everybody. So I went on this journey, and one of my favorite quotes is, "Only on a healthy body rests a healthy mind." Well, I got my physical body in the best shape of my life. I went from 265 pounds to about 180, but took it way past that. And that was the way I was being coached in this program, physically, mentally sound. And then I also recognized that the number one problem in my life was not what I was eating and what I was drinking. It was why I was doing those things. So my lifestyle was incongruent, out of place, and I was mismanaging my emotions. That's why I was getting divorced. That's why I never spent time with my kids. I worked all the time, 80, 90 hours a week. So I started to work on those things, which is the blessing from this program that you and I now work together on. Which was triggered, only on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. It was triggered by that. And I went on this journey that's brought me to a place today where I never would have guessed. I mean, I retired from my practice, didn't even sell it, gave it away, because it wasn't about money anymore. But as you know, I've created a level of freedom and security now that most people dream of. But it took a lot of risk. It took a lot of me really getting honest with myself and getting out of my way and taking the help that was offered. All I would say about that is to anyone listening right now, and including you, somebody's offering you help right now, and it's good help. It's not like that kind of help that you go, I don't need help, right? Somebody's offering you, because this is the way the universe works. The universe is in full support of all of our success, and we're just so stupid that we don't pick up on it, and we think that the world is happening to us. But meanwhile, somebody is offering you exactly what you need. And by me making that statement right now, I know that everybody knows what I'm talking about. Somebody's offering you exactly what you need, and you're just too stupid to say yes to it right now. And you say things, somebody's offering you physical, emotional, and financial freedom, or a mechanism by which you can get it, because you got to do the work. And you're saying that it's not the right time right now. You're telling somebody, a potential angel is being sent from heaven with everything that you pray for when you go to church or you sit by your bed or your temple, and you're saying it's not a good time for it. So hopefully that wakes somebody up, because it took me a long time to say yes. And as soon as I did, I got in the fast lane, and I stopped trying to get into town in a rocking chair, and now I got in a Ferrari, and I just.
Yeah, I've been involved in this program with you since April, and I can't even begin to tell you the physical, mental changes that I'm going through. And that's just yesterday. I mean, it's only a few months ago. And the amount of people that I've already been able to change their lives. And it's just the beginning. We're just getting started.
Let me ask you a question on that, because I've watched you physically change. I've watched you change your career, right? I mean, God, I think you need to go back to the basics on your next How We Doing It episode, and remind people, because you picked up new listeners, who you are and where you come from. Not just the bus story, but the Wall Street days and everything. I mean, very fascinating. So I've watched you go through a lot of those changes, but in my opinion, the growth that I've seen in you, which is relevant to what we're talking about, is your ability to manage life. I mean, there's been some interesting, Howie's basically he's like that little kid with a stick on his shoulder and a little bandana wrapped with some food on Howie just went on the road and just like said, hey, I don't know, where do you live, Howie? I don't know. So if you think about it, since we've met, you've had some interesting decisions to make, and life stuff, and opportunities to seek growth, right? The obstacle is the way. We seek growth, and the obstacle, we know that the obstacle is the way. And here you are, like telling me the other day how you went on this journey, and how you got to spend time with your children and all that stuff. So you've completely transformed, right? And the idea of like where you're going to be in a year from now, well, if we get caught up on thinking that it's only a physical or a financial journey, we're missing it. We're missing it, because those things you don't take with you when you die. What you take with you is that feeling of what you leave behind. Did you make your time count? Did your kids get what they wanted from their dad? And I watched you do that. Saw a picture of you with your just beautiful, your son and your daughters and all that stuff. And you're sitting out there just on the road. And I'm thinking, that guy's free. Somebody else that thinks that it's about money, somebody else that thinks it's about status and all that stuff, they're missing the point. You look at the picture of the guy that's spending quality time with his family and traveling and hiking in mountains and meeting that lady at the Grateful Dead deli or whatever I saw you do. Like, that's freedom. That's what I'm talking about.
It was an amazing 12 weeks. It really was. And you were at the beginning of that journey.
I know.
I ended up.
I apologize.
No, that was you set me off.
Well, maybe that's one of the reasons why we met, was to get you ready for that.
Yeah, and it's so awesome seeing what you've created with Mika. I know that that is such a partnership that's incredible. And to those that aren't aware, sure, the pandemic. Not only were you supposed to get married in Cape Town, and I know why. I wasn't invited if it was now because we just met, but I know I'm in next year.
There was no Howie Craw.
Right. So now, as a result of it being pushed, I'm invited, and now you're waiting to get your daughter here, and so
Well,
people don't realize, how amazing that story is. So as we talk about this journey that we're on, and we're coaching people, with your 14 years of experience, having helped tens of thousands of people, and I'm new at this, I'm in it, only for a few months, and I just like to hear from you.
Hmm.
What is the difference of those that succeed to those that don't? What is that gene, that makeup, that thought? Because I'm loving all the lessons I'm learning from my failures. That's where you learn, and the obstacle is the way, and all of that. But what would you say to anybody who's listening, who's in our program, who's not, who's thinking about it? What do you need? And not only to succeed at this, it goes to anything, but just, what are your thoughts?
Well, everybody wants to know what the secret formula is, and there's science behind that. So everybody wants to know, what do I need to succeed, right? But the real question you should ask is, what do I need to proceed, right? Is because success doesn't come like that, right? That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants a quick fix. How do I succeed? We're like, well, you begin the process of proceeding, right? And all proceeds from this process will go to your success, right? Just as a side note, I made that up right now.
I like that. Right?
But it is about that. The real question is not how to succeed.
How bad do you want it?
What's that?
How bad do you want it?
Well, it's not whether or not it's possible, because we've seen people do it, right? I mean, there's at the top of the mountain, there's this group of people that have everything. So we know it's possible, but we start to wonder if we're right for the job. And we know that who you are determines how well what you do works. So you do have to work on the who. It's not always about the do, it's about the who. But it's all about this thing that you claim you want. Because the science is real simple. The science says that if somebody wants to go on a health journey and complete the process, meaning lose the weight, get healthy, and not go back the other way, which is 90% of the time what happens, the real question is what is about the 10%? If 85, 90% of people in the diet world and all that stuff, if they fail, you can look at that and try to crack that code. That's not what I look at. I'm looking at what's up with the 15% that succeeded. So there's science behind that. The 15% that succeed are not better at this than you. They're not special. They're not lucky. They have a structure. They have a structured eating program, for example. They have support. They have some sort of a coach like you. They have somebody for accountability and coaching and guidance, but they're also part of a community of like-minded, non-judgmental people that lift each other up. When they fall, they learn from it, right? And then the fourth component of what they have, this is in the National Weight Loss Registry, right? And this is actually a thing. These people that succeed, the 15%, they have those three. And then the last thing that they have is they have this journey where they didn't just focus on the thing they wanted in the beginning. They learned something along the way. They evolved and they rewired their brain. Their behavior modification was part of it. So there's the science behind that. But I could still tell people that, because as you know, this program you offer people takes those four things and says, here, on a plate, here it is.
Goof
Here
proof.
it is. As you would say from the old days, it's effing goof proof.
Effing goof proof.
So it's not about that. Because once again, we can offer somebody the keys to the car that takes you into town, but they'll stay in the rocking chair and go back and forth and back and forth. So it's not about whether or not there's a structure or a vehicle. We got that. So we got to focus on what it really is about. It's about that thing that you claim you want. So I love to use an analogy, because when a human being makes a fundamental decision, a quality decision to go after something, it means that they decide to get something no matter what. So I got to give you an example of how human beings will do that and they never fail. So here's the example. Howie, if I take your head right now and I push it underwater, what do you want?
I want air. I want air
How
bad.
bad?
So bad, I'll do anything to get my head out of
And
that
Howie,
water.
what if it's expensive? What if it takes time? What if you don't believe
If
in
I
yourself?
don't come up for air, I'm dead.
What if like somebody in your family is sick and you got a lot of bills to pay and all that stuff? You still want the air?
Yeah,
Why?
because I want to live. I'm
So
not ready to call it a day.
what if we learned how to set our goals, but take them to the next step? There's a big difference between setting and getting goals, right? What if we learned to set a goal and give it the same value as air? So the next step of that, and this is what I'll ask everybody, is what is as important to you in your life as air? Well, I'll give you an example of something that's more important than air. Here's another scenario. So I got your head underwater, right? And you want that air, but I tell you, you got a choice of air or your children living. What do you choose?
My children living.
No brainer, right? Bye-bye. Howie says, it's been great. How we doing? It show's over. I'm
No,
done.
you'll do it. You'll do it. You'll take over the house.
Take it over.
I'm passing the baton to you. Here,
Look what we
the
just
baton.
did. We just unveiled that there's something more important than air, right?
Mhm.
All you have to do is learn how to not just set a goal. You have to give it a value that is so important to you that you will not stop no matter what, no matter what. So when I made a decision to get physically, mentally, and financially sound, I attached it to my children. I did it for them. I wanted my kids. Here's an interesting one. I remember I thought to myself, I wonder what my kids think of their last name. My last name's Doornick, Dragon Doornick, right? I wonder if my kids are proud of their last name. I wonder if somebody comes up and says, hey, are you a Doornick? I wonder if they'll say, you damn right I am, right? The way things used to be, I don't think they would be so proud. They'd be like, yeah, right? But now, because of all of this stuff and what they've watched in this life of significance, they'll say, you damn right it is, right? That's called legacy. So when you start to make your goals that big, you're never going to stop. Doesn't matter, because the only time somebody ever stops at going after something in life is in that moment. They don't stop because of what they think that the reason they're stopping. They stop because they forgot about the value of what it was. When they eat the donut, it's not that the donut's more important than living 10 more years. It's they forgot about what the living 10 more years was about. And they just said, ooh, shiny object syndrome donut. So that's why they need you in their life, Howie. That's why they need you to guide them, but to also say, all right, you ate the donut, but let's just take a moment. What was it that you were going after again and why? Right? So some people are choosing to eat donuts rather than take air when their head's underwater.
Love that. Love it. You know, when we have these conversations, and we do them often.
Wait, are we live right now? Are we recording this?
No, we're just two friends rapping. I think there's a button here that we're on live. But, you know, and a word that you've thrown out a lot of times, and I'm working on it constantly, is structure.
Yeah.
You know, part of our conversations, I don't bring my phone in my bedroom anymore. Last night, I was on and it was working and I was late and I saw it was almost 10 o'clock and I'm like, done. And it's so I'm looking at my list now. Wake up to a daily gratitude journal. Write down 3 things you're grateful for. Quietly read my book. I'm on a book now called Buddha and the Badass. My meditation. I'm doing 10% happier. Get my exercise in. Then do some of the drills that relate to our work. And, you know, that's just how I want to start my morning. And it's structure, and it really helps.
Here's
So
something really interesting about what you just said, because everybody that heard you say that is saying, man, that's what I need to do, right? But they don't see that you're working at something. And let me explain what you're working at right there. See, the problem with our conversations is they could go for 5 hours. So we'll have to cut it at some time. But you know what you're doing when you do all those things, Howie? Right? Because they don't come easy. You got to do them on the day.
oh, you kidding me? This morning, I did the gratitude journal. It was really windy out. Wasn't sure if I should hit the road for Howie doing it. I meet my friend at the pole on Atlantic at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's dark out. It's windy. I had to. I wanted to read my book because I want to read before, and I didn't look at my phone yet, right? Because that goes last.
So, I mean, it's just like every
I need to get up earlier.
Every awesome book that you ever read, you know, like Goggins and stuff, and you hear about these people going through all of this mess to grow. That's the best part. The mess is where the message is. You know, the mess is the best part of it. So, but here's the thing. Look at the guy that you want to become. Look at the physical, the mental, and the financial. So look into the future at the ultimate version of Howie. Right? Can you see it? I mean, can you see it to the point where you could explain what his life is like? Could you?
Yeah, because I'm writing that. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Does that guy get up consistently early in the morning?
Every day.
Does that guy eat healthy and make smart choices with what he eats, what he drinks, and also what he says to people?
All the time.
Does that guy work on his sleeping habits and cut off at the right time because he's with his loved ones?
You know what? That's number 7 on my list. I'm shooting now. That's a new goal for a minimum of 7 hours because I'm nowhere near that. And that's my goal. So that's one of my things on the wall over there too.
So here's the secret, because everybody, you know, I explained in my book, I have a structure. It's called the Rise Up Great Day Morning. And we've got Hal Elrod that, you know, did Miracle Morning. I mean, there's so many different versions of what Dr. A calls the model morning, the How We Doing It show, all that. But here's what it really is. If you want to create the structure in your life to have everything that you desire, here's how you do it. Because you can listen and you can pick and choose. I pick and choose from different things and I say, oh, I like that, and I'm going to start doing that. But look into the future and really get to know the person that you claim you want to be. Get to know them so much that it becomes an obsession of yours, where you actually spend so much time thinking about that person, where you actually start believing that you already are that person, which is, by the way kids get puppy dogs and shiny red bikes, right? And you look at that guy in the future and you say, what does he do? And start practicing those things now until you recognize that you actually are him. So that's called leading from the future. You lead your life. You spend your life in the future as who you want to be, and then act in the now. Some people used to call that to become, act as if, right? But it's bigger than that, because it's your ability to live in that future state, in that who you want to be, and just identify, this guy does this and this and this and this every day. So of course it's a challenge right now because it's a change, but Howie, you're practicing becoming who you want to be by doing that structure. And does it help you manage your emotions? Of course. You know, it's unbelievable how simple success is in life. But I think people get jaded by, you know, thinking, you know, it's like they don't believe in themselves, and, you know, somebody convinced you that you weren't good enough and all that. And we just, like a comet tail, we just hang on to the past wherever we go. We invite the past into every situation. The past is invited to every party we go to.
I think I said this 2 days ago. We have 50,000 thoughts a day. 90% of them are negative, and the other 10% are from the day before, something like that. Like we're constantly repeating the thoughts from the day before, and we're constantly being negative. So I'm looking here, we're definitely going over. So we could, you know, we'll wrap it up in a few minutes. There's just so much that we can always go deeper. And I really appreciate, you know, you sharing all these thoughts and your journey. And again, I think so much gets learned from the hard stuff, you know, where the challenges come, and challenge your limits. This is a triathlon t-shirt of mine that I pulled out because we're about to do an October challenge, which I'm really looking forward to. And I appreciate you and Mika organizing that. That's going to be incredible. So a little plug for the 30-day challenge, maybe? Want to talk about it, or?
Yeah, I'll just quickly, we're better together. Together we achieve more in life. Most people are sitting on the fence in their decisions to do what they know they need to do. Only on a healthy body rests a healthy mind. Easiest way to start your journey forward is to get your physical in order, your temple. So we created the idea of the 30-day challenge, and you've heard about it before, but there's a little bit of science behind it. If you do something every day for 30 days, which is a lot easier when you do it with 600 people, all right, force of habit. But if you do something for 30 days, you're going to get results. That's one thing we all know. If I drink more water for 30 days, if I exercise for 30 days, if I follow an eating regimen like you offer, I'm going to get results. So there's a win right there. And it's easier when you do it with a bunch of people and there's structure to it. But what happens after 30 days is you form the beginnings of what's called, to your point with the book, a habit. So once you have a habit, it's interesting because what are you going to do with that habit? If you form a habit in 30 days, you're going to go back and get rid of that habit, or do you keep practicing it, which is easier once you've created it, and go to the next sweet spot, which is like 90 days, 66 to 90 days, and that habit becomes a lifestyle, which means it goes on autopilot. Right now, everybody's problem is that what's on autopilot is bad habits. So let's go through the challenge, get the results that we need with our quick fix, but then create long-term habits, right? And wouldn't it be cool if you started to notice that you were doing things that served your future and brought you to the shiny red bike and the puppy dog? Wouldn't it be cool if you didn't even have control over the fact that you were practicing unconsciously things that made you physically, mentally, and financially stronger in life? So the power of habits. What's the woman's name that your friend that wrote that book?
Tamsin Astor, Dr. Tamsin Astor.
Speak to her about it. Speak to Wayne Anderson and Tamsin. So, there is nothing more powerful than playing in the realm of habit creation, because once something becomes a habit, just like a bad habit, well, it's hard to break. So wouldn't it be cool if those habits that are hard to break were good for you?
It's funny. People ask me, they say, how do you do HowieDoinIt every day? And I'm like, I don't know. It's a habit.
You're afraid of not doing it.
It's a habit. I'm used to getting up, doing it the night before, the morning of, going out there. It's just like, I'm not perfect with other habits. Trust me. On that one, I've perfected it. So I always tell myself, if I can do something like that for 500 plus days in a row and keep doing it, why can't I do other habits the same way? And even you can, but they take a conscious effort. But at a certain point, they become unconscious habits. And then they're not, then it's great. And like you said, we're always looking to bring on new habits. How about looking at the bad ones you have and erase those out of your book? Because
hey, I'll give you one last example of exactly what you're saying, because you can do that with anything. So you see this funny gold jacket I'm wearing, right? You see it?
I do. I see it.
Even though, does it surprise you that I'm wearing it?
No.
You want to know why? That's called consistency, baby. I have gotten to the point with consistency where I could wear a shiny gold jacket and people are not surprised.
JC, when I first met you and we did some health assessments, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe he's wearing that. After a couple of weeks, I saw that nobody cared that was talking to you and it didn't even matter. But like the first few times, I was like, oh, I hope he's not wearing that shiny gold jacket. And I'm bringing on somebody and like, I want to introduce you to Dr. J.C. Doornick, one of the founders of the firm here. He took it from 20 million to $1 billion. And then you show up.
Challenge your limits, right?
Yeah. So I appreciate you being here. I hope people get something out of this. I know that we didn't invite people into the Zoom room. We just went straight to Facebook. So
yeah, we'll go back in there and answer questions or anything, or look at people's reactions on the Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. There's a lot. Wow. There's a lot in here. There's people joining the challenge, people talking about how much weight they lost, people with coaching. That's great. It's awesome. Love the feedback.
Amber says that she loves waiting to see what JC's going to wear.
Yeah. JC, we'll do this again in a few weeks.
Yeah, because I actually wanted to talk about something completely different. So we'll try to do that next.
Give me a teaser what you wanted to talk about.
Well, I want to talk about, I believe that everybody in life, and they have different names for it, is seeking this state. Some people call it joy, fulfillment. In Buddhism, they call it enlightenment, right? So in my book, I refer to this state called the calm. And it's not just being chill and relaxed. It's this place where things roll off your back, where you're laser focused on what matters and what doesn't, where you have mental clarity rather than confusion, where somebody can say something and you don't react to it before actually taking a walk around it holographically, which is a concept I came up with, looking at the whole holographic vision, and you realize that you are in control of your life, the calm. So my book teaches people how to achieve the calm.
I love that because let's face it, who doesn't want
if you're into
a
that
little
sort
bit?
of thing, if you're into that sort of thing.
Who doesn't want?
It might be a bad timing. Right now is not a good time to be calm, JC.
No. Let me put on some. Is it time for CNN and Fox and see what we're going to do about RBG? And then we could talk about, whatever. I'm not even going to go there. That's the other thing I love about our community. And I came into the community. My sister Shelly has crushed the program. She's awesome. And I've known about it for years. And I'm so proud of her. But I personally came into it during the pandemic. And the beautiful thing is again, a disclaimer, as much as we're all heartbroken about the pandemic, nobody talks about it. We talk about health. We talk about family. We talk about happiness. We talk about the things that really matter and leave the news and all of that over there because it's always going to be there.
Yeah, just live. Very, very simple tip on this. One of the things you can do in the calm is live within the realm of things that matter, not things that don't, and really, really get good at identifying what it is that you have control over and what you don't. And the last tip I'll give you is the next time you experience, and you're gonna, feelings are, the first thing you'll notice when you react to something is you'll have a feeling. So the next time you have a feeling that's associated with fear, anger, frustration, any of that sort of fun stuff, anxiety, stop yourself right there and do a check on yourself. Right there in that moment, you are trying to control something out of your control. And that's one of the main triggers of all those things are. So we'll talk about that next time.
All right, buddy. Much love. Awesome. Thank you. And I'll call you in 10 minutes. We'll finish the conversation.
All right, buddy. Have a great day. Thanks for having me here, man. I love everything that you do. And thanks for providing structure for everybody that needs it. And we sure need it these days.
All right. Look forward to talking about the calm soon.
Bye-bye.
Take care, buddy.